It is episode 17 of Interrupted by Matt Jones, presented by Cornbread Hemp. This is the good life. I love to do, I love to talk to interesting people. And one of my favorite people to talk to is Mina Kimes of ESPN. She does NFL Live, but also does a million other things and is an overall smart person. And we like smart people on this show. And Mina, it's nice to have you on.
It's good to catch up. It's been a really long time.
It has. I think the first time you and I talked was during COVID. We did one of these as everybody was bored out of their minds. And, you know, you've maintained there at ESPN. A lot of the people that I really liked over the years have slowly fallen to the side, but Mina remains holding the fort down. So I'm glad to see that.
I do my best. Yeah, we're very lucky that NFL Live, which is my main show at ESPN, has stayed together now for 5-6 years, which is pretty rare in our industry.
And you have all the people that I like. You have Dan Orloski, you got Laura Rutledge, you got my guy, Marcus Spears, right? So you're all on there, and it seems like a fun show to do, is it?
It is such a fun show to do. We are on site for Monday Night Football this year almost every Monday. So
you are?
Chicago. Yeah, wow, we're going to be on site, which is always fun with the gang. And we're going to get Chicago week 1, Bears, Vikings,
That's
like a really
team.
Great Monday night game. It's a good one. I'm excited about it. So yeah,
is Cincinnati one of them? If so, I may try to come up there and bother everybody.
I didn't see them on the schedule in the first 2 months, maybe later in the season.
Do you like going? You like traveling and going to all those games? I'm somebody who loves to travel for the job, but some people are homebodies. Do you like it?
I like traveling to anywhere I can reach without connecting.
Okay. So do you all tape that in LA or do you tape it in New York?
It's a mix. I mean, we do a lot in Bristol, and I'll be in Bristol on a few Tuesdays this year. And then some it's remote, some it's in New York, some it's on site. It's all over the place, but a lot of on site this year.
Tell people what, because I don't think a lot of people realize what Bristol, Connecticut is like. Because everybody has this glamorous notion of what ESPN is. I'm in Bristol like 3 times a year, and there's that one hotel that everybody stays at. And then, like, where do you eat when you're there? I always struggle to find a place to eat.
West Hartford is where, like, a lot of ESPNers live around there.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of actually really good restaurants there. It's about 20 minutes from Bristol. But for those, it's basically like a college campus is how I would describe Bristol, right? It feels like even when you're on the ESPN campus, it feels like a small college.
Yes.
Where there's not a lot going on.
Not a lot. It's like Transylvania where I went to school. Like everybody knows everybody and you're hoping to meet new people. But then sometimes you'll get days where you look up and The Rock is there or something. You know, there it is cool. Sometimes random people end up there.
Definitely. I've told this story before, but my very first day of ESPN, the first time I ever went to the campus in Bristol when I was hired, it was back when I was a writer, 2014, 15, it's been a long time now. I got lost. It was kind of an empty day on campus for some reason, and I couldn't figure out where I was, and I was clearly wandering around lost, and then I felt someone tap me on the back and say, "Excuse me, miss, you look lost." And it was Jerome Bettis, which was like, I felt like I was in a SportsCenter commercial. That
is a SportsCenter commercial.
You're Jerome Bettis.
Yeah. I do wonder, when I'm there, I'm usually there around the NCAA tournament selection show. And they're all college basketball people, but the rest of the people aren't there. And I do sort of envy what it had to be like in the golden days before there was ESPN LA and before they had the New York studios and where everyone was there. I have to say that had to be kind of cool back in the day, don't you think?
Yeah, we're really all spread out now around the country. Like SVPs in DC, for example. You got a lot of folks in New York, the morning shows. Stephen A is in New York/Miami. So yeah, chances are less than before that you would run into some familiar faces. I
was at Seaport once when Stephen A got brought in, and you don't have to laugh at this because you have to work with these people and I don't. But I did think it was very funny. I was in Seaport. And Stephen A comes in, and there's nobody there. Like Seaport is kind of empty. Yeah. Like there's nobody there. And he gets out of the car, and when people on TV see Stephen A do those like walk-ins where he acts like he's a professional wrestler, and he sort of buttons the coat and kind of walks like that. He was walking into Seaport like that, and he had like 6 security guys But no one was there but me. And I felt like saying, guys, you could take me. There no need to be 6 of you if something happens. So, it's kind of funny. All right.
He is like more famous than a lot of athletes.
Oh, for
I know,
sure.
Like
yeah.
people laugh when he says that because he himself has said that, but it is true. Like having been, when you go to games, it is remarkable how many people do come up to him. And he's the person at ESPN I get asked about the most.
I bet that's true. Have you endorsed him for president yet?
I have endorsed him for continuing to do first take.
Okay, that's what I like. That's a very diplomatic answer. Before I want to talk with you about the NFL, but let me ask you one more ESPN question. You've had so many different, like, you have been there over 10 years now, and I've been there through. I have a small job, but lots of different changes. Do you feel when you're at ESPN how the culture goes? I mean, there was a time that doing shows like you all even do with NFL Live that are more personality driven would have been frowned on. And now that's much more approved. Dan Orloski can talk about his food and what he likes to eat and all of that. It's amazing how much that has changed, hasn't it? Even in just the last few years.
I think, the sort of nature of the shows is constantly changing, right? And the kind of platforms that they're built for and audiences that they're catering to. I actually think NFL Live is a bit of a throwback, though, in some ways. Like, we do a lot of, we do like to share our personalities and lean into our relationships, especially because we've been blessed to work together for so long. But I think that the reason we're able to do that is because it is such a hardcore football show.
Yeah.
And I think, like, sometimes maybe, when I see folks talking about ESPN and sports television, I almost feel like they're kind of leaving that out a bit. Because if you watch NFL Live, I know you've watched our show, it is really freaking nerdy. Like, it
is football
we really
nerdy,
lean into the teaching and the how and the why, and I think it's why the show, personally, selfishly, and I know I sound a little self-aggrandizing here, but I think it's why the show works, is that we really respect our viewers and don't talk down to them.
It's kind of funny, I'm starting this podcast for the NFL, and I've been listening to all the NFL podcasts to try to get ready, and I've noticed the NFL, it feels like, much more so than college sports podcasts, than NBA podcast, it does seem to cater to the serious a little bit more. It feels like, for whatever reason, which is good because I can't do that, so I can hopefully find my own niche. But it does feel like the NFL fans want that in a way that maybe fans of other sports don't as much. Do you agree with that?
I 100% agree. NFL fans are scary smart now. I think
they
that's
really
why.
are.
I mean, not just about X's and O's and stats, but like cap. I mean, you got NFL fans walking around talking about, like restructuring and what it means. It's honestly kind of remarkable. And I think because of that, the discourse in podcast shows, et cetera, has to be pretty sophisticated, honestly. And that doesn't mean every podcast has to be, super grinding matchups and getting into advanced stats and that kind of thing and tendencies. But I think that it's been proven that there's a huge audience for that with NFL fans. It's such a complicated, beautiful sport. And I think, there's so many different ways to talk about it. But I think that high level of discourse you're talking about, that really serious, like, let's talk about matchups things, it does feel pretty unique to the NFL.
It really does. All right, so let's talk a lot about the NFL. We are 3 or 4 weeks away from starting the season. And I guess for someone who now hosts 2 NFL shows, I still treat it in some ways, in my mind, the exact opposite of the way you do. So I look at it kind of more broad. And I don't know that any NFL discussion really in today's world starts with anyone other than the Chiefs, even though they did not win. Because I would argue that, the Cowboys are maybe the marquee franchise, but it is still a league where Mahomes and Kelsey and the Chiefs are, in my opinion, a primary story and are the one thing that year in and year out everybody knows will be good. I think they're going to be better this year than they were last year, even if their record is worse. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, so the record part is huge because, the Chiefs won 15 games, I believe. And
all one score, like 10 of them.
Yeah, right. So like I always when I look for signs of regression record wise, not in terms of the quality of the team necessarily, you do look at point differential, and they had the point differential of like a 10-win team. They got incredibly lucky. And you can say, well, if you're coached by Andy Reid and you have one of the best quarterbacks in the history of sport, luck doesn't really matter as much because you are able to win on those margins. I think that's true, but it is entirely possible that, to, like you said, this is a better team with a worse record. I think it's likely, frankly.
Yes.
For me, that starts with the offense. You know, the Chiefs' offense has just been kind of a bummer the last 2 years. What's hilarious is they're still a top 10 offense in most metrics, and they're able to grind out these long, excruciating drives with like 6-yard completions. Patrick Mahomes with like the lowest average depth of target of his career, kind of a boring but moderately efficient run game. But the explosivity is gone, both in the run and the pass, especially the run, frankly. Zero explosive runs. I think getting Rashee Rice back will be huge. He's got a suspension looming. We'll see how that comes down. But I think people have forgotten how good he was the second half of his rookie season and then the beginning of this last one before he got hurt. And to me, he was just such a missing piece in this offense last year, especially because Travis Kelce, I thought was kind of overused, quite frankly. You know, and he obviously is near the end of his career. But they need another answer versus zone coverage. Rashee Rice, to me, is that guy. So I am actually very optimistic about the offense.
Do you, for somebody who is in the weeds as much, you also, though, like appreciate celebrity? Don't you do like a podcast that's about Love Island or something? Or
it's about TV. It's called Viewer Discretion. We talk about TV shows.
Okay. What? By the way, digression. I'm watching The Gilded Age. Have you been watching?
Oh my God, I love The Gilded Age.
No, you don't.
I love it. It's so
do I don't know anyone else that watches it. You like The Gilded Age.
You know what's so funny about that show? This is extreme regression here. I can't. I thought I wouldn't be able to get my husband to watch it. For those who don't know, it's like Downton Abbey in America, basically. He thinks Christine Baranski's character on The Gilded Age is like the funniest person on television.
That's Agnes, right?
Agnes, yeah.
Oh, she's the best. She's so mean, but has a little bit of a heart, and it kind of.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Noted Bills fan, by the way, Christine Baranski.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that. Yeah. And then I don't know what it says about me. Now, granted, I'm only through season 1, so I mean, you're probably ahead of. I really have a big crush on Bertha, and I think I don't know what that says about my personality, but I just do. And then I think Marion is kind of a dud as a character. Yeah. So I like her. I wish she wasn't in it, but like everyone else I find awesome, and all this. It seems like I like it so much because it's so much about things that are so unimportant that it makes it interesting to me.
Oh, there'll be an entire episode where the central drama is that somebody prepared the soup the wrong way for like a big dinner.
Exactly right.
It's so stupid, but I love it. I will say you're a ways behind. Season 3 is the best one yet.
I've heard that, and I've heard it maybe expands and becomes a little more like about things because
there's a lot going on. In season
I
about like the railroad
wait.
industry and
Yeah, and they actually teach you history. Like I learned that the Statue of Liberty, the torch, set in New York for 7 years before they could get the rest of it. Like there's a lot you learn. How did I get off on that? I'm not sure. But you do the TV thing. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Are they the two most famous people in the NFL right now?
Yes.
And they're in Kansas City. That's so weird if you think about it.
Travis Kelce is probably more famous than Patrick Mahomes.
You think
now.
he is?
So like,
Do you think he is?
If you're averaging all women and casual NFL fans, which is crazy.
It is crazy.
NFL players, aren't like that famous because the helmets. And,
you're exactly. It's fascinating how popular the sport is.
Yeah.
Versus if you were to list the 50 most famous athletes in America, how few would be NFL players probably.
Yeah. I was speaking of NFL players in the news a lot, I was at the airport ahead of the Super Bowl waiting for my luggage in New Orleans this year, standing next to Micah Parsons, and nobody came up to him. He was just wearing street clothes. Micah Parsons is like one of the 3 best edge rushers in football, and he was not approached. It was crazy.
That is fascinating, but doesn't shock me. Do you think it was ultimately? Well, you're around players more than I am. What do the players think about the whole way for a couple years the Taylor Swift thing became part of it. I think it was good for the league. It has to be good for the league. Do players sort of roll their eyes at it, or they think it's kind of cool?
I think they get it. I mean, they understand growing the league is important. They have women in their lives who love Taylor Swift, who are kind of invested in that. Players are smart about the business of the NFL, and I 100% think it's good for the league too, no doubt.
Andy Reid has obviously had so much success over his career, but if you just look at him stereotypically, like you just look at his mustache and you look at him and you wouldn't think that offensive mind is there, that it is. What makes him so good that he can have had two kind of amazing runs in two different places and bring these offenses? What is it that puts him, or even like a Kyle Shanahan, so much far ahead of everybody else?
They're both extraordinarily creative, I would say that. And they're both constantly iterating. Like both of these offenses, which are very, very different, like really different, but they're both growing in response to trends in the league and also in response to the players at their disposal. Kyle Shanahan has evolved his run game so much. At the beginning with the Niners, it was just this outside zone, under center, rushing attack that we associate with the Shanahan tree, and then they would add new layers. It became more downhill, more gap-based. The addition of Christian McCaffrey unlocked a lot in terms of what they were doing with their 21 personnel packages that he was just never doing before. His ability to create run-pass conflict and just constantly put linebackers in hell, I think, is really unmatched still. And then with Andy, it's easy to point to him and say, well, you have like arguably the most talented quarterback to ever play the position. But I'll tell you what, he doesn't have the most talented group of skill players and hasn't
in a few years. Yeah.
Yeah. And Travis Kelce, obviously, when he was at his peak, unbelievable answer, particularly against zone for Mahomes. Tyreek Hill made life easier, but Andy's constantly had to evolve too. I mean, the things that they do with, for example, the Chiefs drafted first-round draft pick Xavier Worthy last year, and he was the guy who ran like a 4.2 something in the combine. So everyone's thinking he's just going to be downfield. And, it came, I think, apparent kind of early in the season he wasn't quite ready for that role, both in terms of getting off the line of scrimmage, winning downfield, tracking the ball, etc. So Andy iterated during the season. He started using him in different ways. He started manufacturing touches for him, got involved in the screen game, got involved in man coverage beaters, found ways to get him open using bunches and the like. He's just always done that. He's just, he's obviously, he's an older coach now compared to the rest of the NFL, but there's nothing old or archaic or set in his ways about the way he approaches offense.
I'm sorry, I get a little distracted looking behind you at your bookcase because I'm a nerdy reader, and I see two books that I love right behind your head. First of all, Martyr, which I think is great. Have you? I assume you've read it, right?
I have, yeah.
Did you like it?
The writer is a friend of mine, so I'm a little biased.
Wait a minute, the writer is a friend of yours.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful?
I think it's amazing. I think
he loves sports, by the way.
Does he?
Huge hoops head, yeah.
I think it's one of the best. It was a book that I just bought it because it was on the New York Times 10 best of the. So I buy all those, and it was by far. I mean, I had read James, so I really liked that, but it was by far my favorite of the others, and I knew nothing about it until I saw that. So that's crazy, And then is that My Brilliant Friend behind you as well?
Yeah, that is. You love Gilded Age and My Brilliant Friend. You such
I just read My Brilliant
taste.
Well, don't see people in Kentucky would say you're right about that, but I love My Brilliant Friend. I'm gonna read. Have you read the other three? Are they good?
I have. You know what's crazy? My son, I have a 2-year-old now. It just changed since we last talked. His name is Nino.
Oh, is it really?
He's not named after the character in the book. For those who have read the book, there's a character named Nino, who's one of the main characters, who's just like an F-boy, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got the idea for the name, but he's not named after the character.
Yeah, and well, you also have Liar's Poker, so you have some masculine books there behind you as well. I'll stop looking at your books there and then go X-Men. Yeah, I'm not a superhero guy, but Lamar. All right, so we're in Kentucky, even though it's Louisville. People here follow Lamar Jackson a lot. There's a whole generation of Kentuckians who are Louisville fans, who are Baltimore fans because of Lamar. I remember when he was in college. Mark Stoops, the coach at Kentucky, who had coached Miami during the glory days and Florida State during their glory days, said to me during his junior year of college, Lamar Jackson's the best player I've ever seen at any position. Even though it's Louisville, I don't care. And I, trying to be the Kentucky guy, was like, oh, come on. Well, he was right. I mean, he certainly was right in college. In college, I've never seen anyone like him. Then he comes to pros. Dan Orloski and I used to fight because Dan said there's no way he'll be good in the pros. I took up for the Louisville guy.
Did
I
he?
was right. Don't let Dan get around you. He didn't think Lamar or Josh Allen would be good. We would fight on our pregame show about both of those. If he's honest, he'll admit it. But he really
You gotta
did.
send me those Lamar takes so that I can haunt Dan with them. I didn't know that.
Both of them.
I was wrong about Allen, though. I will say I was with him on Allen.
Were you? Well, he did not think Lamar would be good. I find him to be the most fun player to watch in the NFL. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Allen's close. Those two are how blessed are we to watch these two? I know it's funny. The MVP debate got like so toxic last year, which is a shame because it's such a goal. Like I feel like these young quarterbacks are just unbelievable, and those two, they have some similarities, I think, in the way they impact defenses and style of play and all of that. But Lamar, like to me, I was wrong about Allen, but I was right about Lamar. I did a piece ahead of the draft. I actually co-wrote with my buddy Dominique Foxworth, who I podcasted, and the headline of the piece was Lamar Jackson could change the NFL if the NFL
would let it
does right by him. Basically, yeah, that was our concern. We were both like blown away by his tape. We both felt it had been like misrepresented. People didn't even watching Petrino's offense, and but at that point, the NFL had a very different attitude towards dual threat quarterbacks, just like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's changed so now it's like if you're not dual threat, the NFL is like, ooh, I don't know about
Aren't the two of them though probably why that's changed? I mean,
huge part of why.
And they're both dual threats in different ways, right? They have a completely different way of doing it.
Josh Allen's going to bulldoze you. Lamar Jackson's just his ability to avoid contact, knock on wood always, is just, I've never seen anything like it in my life. But he was, I think, lucky in some ways to land with a very good franchise, one where they were very smart in how they approached the offense, and then how they John Harbaugh, to his credit, continued to grow that offense when it reached a limit with the prior offensive coordinator, Greg Roman. And he's unbelievable. I think, like, people don't appreciate what he did I know that he was first team All-Pro, but he came close to breaking the NFL's passer rating.
I know. That's amazing.
Passer rating does not account. Like, that's just, I don't use passer rating because I prefer QBR because it accounts for opponent and rushing. He's so accurate now and confident.
And he was at Louisville too. And it was interesting when he came in the draft because I watched him play all the time. Louisville was very good. I wanted him to lose every game. So I watched every game hoping he would lose, and he would break your heart in so many different ways. And I felt like when I was listening to the draft process, when I was listening to NBA or NFL people talk about him, I'm like, did you watch the same player?
Yeah.
It was like they were talking about the stereotype of what a mobile, to be real African-American, because that's the way they would talk about him, quarterback. But it was like they hadn't seen him play. It's like, have you seen him play?
It was pro style. Like, the way people talked about the offense, I was convinced that they didn't actually watch what he did, because he's always been smart. He's always been really good at reading the field. I think the thing that just has improved is accuracy. I think he has definitely gotten more accurate, so has Josh Allen, by the way, both of them, right? And yeah, it's been remarkable to watch their trajectory, because I think sometimes when we think about NFL quarterbacks, we think, okay, you come in, you're accurate, you're not accurate, you stay that way. And both of them are proof that you can just get better as a quarterback as years go on. I mean, what they're doing right now, those two guys, it's unbelievable how good they've become.
I felt like he had to deal specifically, Lamar, with some, to be quite frank with you, slightly old racist stereotypes of what a black quarterback was. And I thought that was, and he has helped. I think those are gone now. And I think he has been a huge part of that. And Josh Allen, I would watch late at night on CBS Sports Network in their ugly Wyoming uniforms. And I'd be like, who's this guy? And now, is he destined to be cursed? Or do they finally get over the hump? It feels like this is the year if they're going to do it, right?
Either of those two teams. I think those are the two best teams in the AFC, just outside the Eagles in the NFL. And actually, this is crazy stat. So I like to use FT and Fantasy, formerly Football Outsiders, has this DVOA stat, which basically, looks at total efficiency in opponent. It's smart football fans if you want to know how good a team is, an offense, a defense. And according to their metrics, the stretch that the Bills and the Ravens have had over the last 3 or 4 years with Allen Lamar are both the best individual stretches by any teams that have not made it to the Super Bowl. They just are cursed to be playing in the Patrick Mahomes era of football. They're both of those teams I think are more complete than the Chiefs. The Ravens in particular, that defense is really good. I thought they were the two best teams, but it just...
Sometimes it happens. Mark Andrews catches that. It's a completely different, completely different situation. So, I'm a Bears fan. Caleb Williams, I was very excited when he got picked. I enjoyed watching him last year. I actually think the criticisms of him, to be quite frank, I also think people didn't necessarily watch the games. I mean, his stats are not very much different than Drake May's and Bo Nix's, but people talk about him a different way. They lost a ton of one-score games. I feel like now you have Ben Johnson. You improve the offensive line. Do we see a big leap from him this year?
I think so, but I do urge folks to have a little patience. Okay. This is a whole new offense, new coach, like the pieces of the offense, new interior offensive line.
Is it very different? You know more about it than I do. Is it?
I think there's going to be some similarities to the Lions, right? But, the Lions offense was so specific. Jared Goff, under center, play action, throwing over the middle of the field. He was like a machine. That's an offense that was built around his skill set. Caleb's a slightly different quarterback. I think he can do that. I think he's a good play action quarterback. I think he can play under center. I think he's accurate. But Ben is going to have to evolve his offense, not just around Caleb, but like the play. None of those receivers are like Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're good receivers. I really like Rome Odunze. I really think he can be better this year. But, they're going to use him in a slightly different way. The run game is not as good. The offensive line, I think, should be a lot better. It just might take a second for all these pieces to come together. Some of my optimism with the Bears, actually, is not about the offense. I think the defense is going to show some significant improvement this year. One of my favorite kind of under-the-radar hires of the offseason was Dennis Allen coming in as a defensive coordinator. That man struggled as a head coach, but let me tell you, he can coach defense. And I think his style of defense, which is more aggressive, more man coverage, is a good fit for the Bears defense, which does have really good players. So I wouldn't be surprised if, even if the offense takes a little bit, you do see some improvement in the defense early on.
I got to be one of the few people who would have you on and ask a question about Jacksonville early. But in Kentucky, we follow it a little bit. Because Josh Hines Allen could run for governor. Kentucky people like him so much. But also Liam Cohen is someone that everyone at Kentucky, he coached here twice over the course of 3 years.
That's right.
And is odd. He was odd when he was here. He was odd.
Elaborate. I want to hear your take on this.
Well, okay. So he's like a nerdy savant who wants to be cool, but unlike Mike McDaniel, who thinks he's cool, Liam knows he's not. So he's trying really hard.
So and self-aware.
He is self-aware, I would agree, but he also is like really smart, which is why I liked him a lot. He was here. Kentucky was really good. He goes to the Rams. They have a terrible offense. Then he comes back and they're good again. So we saw literally what he'd do and what would happen when he left. He's now known to most NFL people as Duvall. Like that's what they know him as. What do you think he's going to be as a head coach? I feel like he's improved everywhere he's been. The Rams, Tampa Bay, and then both times at Kentucky. Do you think it works as a head coach?
I do. First of all, the Duvall thing. It's not the way the voice. It was the head motion that really. The look.
No, it epitomized that one word epitomizes who he is. Like that's if you only saw that and you were thinking, who is this guy? Mina, that's what he is.
Fair enough. I will say this. I have learned to not judge head coaches by first impressions, right? There's just been so many examples of
Philly.
whether it's Dan Campbell in Detroit, Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia. I would say Jonathan Gannon in Arizona, I think, has done a really good job there. He had kind of an unusual introduction to the world. Coaching personalities too, like what works and what doesn't, is all over the map in the NFL. I'm optimistic about that hire because I thought the Bucs offense was one of the most interesting and cleverly designed units in all football last year. He was, and you know, they lost players along the way, and obviously Chris Godwin early on was big, but I thought he was fantastic at changing the run game as the season went on. His screen game was exceptional. The way he sequenced plays, the run pass, all of it was really effective. And he also got really great play out of the young quarterback, and that's kind of what he's being tasked with, right? Is improving Trevor Lawrence's performance. If Travis Hunter is the best receiver in this draft, as you know, I think obviously he was drafted that way, the combination of him and Brian Thomas Jr. is insane. Like, this could be I'm a little worried about the offensive line, but I think you could see a really significant leap from this Jags offense. Jags defense, I don't know so much. That's a tough group, but the offense, I think, could take a leap.
We don't produce a lot of NFL quarterbacks at Kentucky, and both people that he touched at least made the NFL. Will Levis, who knows what his future will be. Devin Leary's the backup in Baltimore, third string in Baltimore, and guys were better when he was the offensive coordinator. So it's not popular to like him now because he left both times in sort of shady manner, and then he did the same thing in Tampa Bay as well. But I just feel like he's going to be good. I guess we'll have to find out. Mike McDaniel, I call him Captain Nerd on ESPN because of his socks and his shoes and all that. But also, I'm surprised that they struggled last year. Like, he seems like he'd be really smart. I feel like he's kind of on the hot seat. Do you?
Quietly, even though they just got extended, because I think with the Dolphins, like, you could say, well, you know, you lost Tua for a lot of the season, you had injuries, how much can you really blame him? And I think there's some veracity to that, but I think because they keep losing in the same way, and they're not and I personally think it's more about the GM, frankly, than the head coach. You encounter like some fatigue where fans are like, we know how this movie's going to end, right? And we're not going to be able to run the ball at the end of the season and protect the quarterback. And is he going to make plays in January? So I think for him, if he doesn't show some sort of growth, if the offense doesn't show some sort of growth, particularly in the run game, which was really bad last year, I do think he could be a sneaky hot seat guy. Defense also, a lot of holes in that secondary, not super optimistic about that group, which is crazy because we're not that long ago, you know, the Denver game where they beat them by, you know, a zillion points, that was not that long ago. We were on TV saying they're changing the NFL, this is crazy, and it just goes to show you how hard it is to have sustained success.
When Tua gets hit, is there a part of, like, are you still to the point where you sort of cringe? I mean, I do, and I know
especially him.
Yeah, I'm for him. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, is there still a part of you that says, "Hey, man," because I mean, ultimately, it's his choice what to do, but I still find myself like his hits hurt me more than anybody else's in some ways.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. I mean, when he went out for the season, or for part of the season, I think the next day on NFL Live, a lot of the players I work with were kind of shaky about whether they wanted to continue watching him play football. And obviously it's his choice. And that's, you know, that's not something I think we heard from players that often in the past. I think even an NFL, I think it was what's his name? Was coaching the Raiders last year before Antonio Pierce came out and said, like, yeah, you should probably retire. I was like, whoa, that's so unusual to hear.
Especially for NFL guys to say about each
100%,
other. Yeah.
100%. But it's real. I think there's a lot of that feeling. And, you know, people forget until he gets hit again, and then it'll come back again.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to like that I say this, so you don't have to agree. But I find Aaron Rodgers to be he is my least favorite athlete maybe ever. I mean, I didn't.
Ever?
I can't think of one I like less because, I mean, I'm sure there are obviously people who've committed like crimes and things but put those away. Okay. But if you're just talking about who I find annoying, he has to be number one. And a big part of it is his whole post-COVID ayahuasca enlightened phase. But ultimately America forgives people if they're good. Yeah. So is he good?
He won good last year.
Yeah.
And he's on the wrong side of 40, so the odds are against it. And wasn't good last year is a little bit of an oversimplification, but the way I would describe, because I get asked about him a lot, like, can he still play, right? Yes, but not in the same way.
Yes, but no.
Yeah, right. He look, if he was in an incredible if he was in the Vikings, there was like whispers about that. I'd be pretty optimistic about that offense. He still has arm strength. He hasn't lost it. What is gone is the playmaking ability, which was a big part of his game, right? That ability he made all these crazy off-platform throws from muddy pockets or the escapes.
And he was smart. He could make a decision that nobody else could see, and
super smart, and the vision was unbelievable. His ability to manipulate safeties and all great. But I think as you've seen some of those things degrade over the years, the margins just get smaller and smaller. I thought with the Jets, you saw the highlight reel throws every now and then, but you also saw a lot of him just kind of not wanting to play in the structure of the offense because he didn't want to get hit or whatnot. And so when I look to the Steelers now, it's an offensive line in transition. You really only have one DK Metcalf is your wide receiver one. It's kind of an unusual pairing in some ways. So, I think they could be fine. I think offensively they could tread water, but he's not a top 10 quarterback anymore. And I think anyone who's expecting that is probably.
I think people overlook the guy who's 38 and older and doesn't want to get hit factor. Don't you think that's a big thing it was like that for Tom Brady, even as good as he was, that like they just don't want to get hit, which I get it. I'm in my 40s. I don't want to get hit, but like they're still playing. I get, do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are young guys who don't want to get hit too, but yeah, it is a big,
yeah, it's true.
It's a big thing with the older quarterbacks for sure. I talked about Jared Goff, who's a pocket quarterback, right? Jared Goff's giving you basically nothing in terms of mobility, but that dude will stand in there and take a hit.
Yeah, he will.
And it allows that offense to be very explosive. And when you are a pocket quarterback and you don't want to absorb that kind of contact anymore and you're speeding up your throws, it just kind of limits the offense in ways that are different from earlier in your career, I think.
I think most people would agree the top four quarterbacks are in some order. Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow. I think most people agree with that.
Yeah.
So I assume you agree with that too.
Yeah.
So who's number 5?
I think it's Herbert.
Okay.
Justin Herbert. I think Jaden Daniels had a fantastic rookie season, but we got to, pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see.
We could have said that about CJ Stroud the year before.
Right.
Yeah.
Who also, like you saw, wow, terrible offensive line. You see the way that impacts the quarterback. You could never underestimate how much context matters for a quarterbacking situation. But yeah, I think Herbert to me, just, over the course of now several seasons, you see the top end arm talent, accuracy, good decision making. And I know people hate it when you bring this up with Herbert without much help. Mm-hmm. The offensive line has been pretty bad at times. Run game was sucked last year. Not a good group of receivers. Lad McConkey was his number one. So I think you do have to take that into account when you watch him.
I always joke that I've never met a Chargers fan. Because I think it's the most obscure in terms of fan base because I did used to see them when they were in San Diego, but they're not anymore. What do you think in terms of Mina Kimes walks through airports? What fan base do you see the least?
Ooh, the least. Okay.
Because anybody could say Cowboys, Steelers, whatever for the most, but who's the least? Yeah. Who's the most obscure of the fan bases?
I don't see a lot of Bucks fans. I'll throw that.
I have a Bucks fan as my producer right now.
Really?
He threw his hands up in the air, but yes.
Okay. I like Bucks fans, and they're really appreciative when you talk about it. So I like small market fan bases because when you talk about them,
they get
like,
excited.
Yeah, we're here. Yeah. Thank you. Praise our guy. Bucks, I don't see a ton of. Jags, weirdly, I do. They're vocal, but
Well, because there's a big area. Like the thing about sometimes with fan bases, you have to think not just about the city, but the area. And Jacksonville gets that whole panhandle, and they get they get the parts of Alabama, and so like sometimes you have to look at it like Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati's not a huge state, but they get most of Kentucky and they get most of Southern Ohio. So
I'd see a lot of Bengals fans. I would say the third one would be maybe Cardinals.
Not
a ton of Cardinals fans.
You never see a Cardinals fan
in my life. Yeah, outside Arizona.
Why would you? Okay, so I'm going to move off the NFL. A little Mina Kimes talk before we get done. You do a TV podcast. What's the name of it?
It's called Viewer Discretion. So we're doing the season of Perfect Match is a reality show next week. But then after that, we're going to start the new Alien show, which I'm really excited about. Alien
Perfect
Earth.
Match. What is that? Is that another little dating show?
show?
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then you're doing an Alien show.
Alien, the new Noah Hawley show. He did Fargo. If you watched that,
Yeah.
I love Fargo. So it's his new show. And then I think I want to talk about Chief of War, which is the new
That's Jason Momoa, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's basically, did you watch Shogun? It's like Shogun Hawaii.
Love Shogun,
basically.
yeah.
Then you'll love this. You should watch it. There's only been 2 episodes.
Yeah, there's a woman I know that wants to see it because isn't he just like in a little loincloth most of the time?
The whole entire time.
Okay, so I judge people by this, so I'm going to judge you by it. 3 best Mina Kimes dramas of all time, 3 best comedies of all time.
TV?
TV.
Or movies?
TV, not movies. TV.
Okay.
TV's, movies is, anybody can do 2 hours. TV's like a longer period of time.
Okay, TV, I'm going to go with The Leftovers, which is my favorite show.
I've never seen that. Worth it?
Dude, it's so good.
Okay. I'm putting it on the list because of you.
A good show.
That's the one, there's been an apocalypse and then, all right.
Or it's not apocalypse, but like 2% of the world goes missing. And nobody knows 2%.
Ooh, no, I like that. I thought it was apocalypse, so 2% of the world goes missing.
It's very much about, it's a show about like grief, which I realize is not the best advertisement for the show, but it is beautiful. It's so good. I love the show *Halt and Catch Fire*.
I like that. I saw the first season, and then I haven't seen the rest.
Season 2 and 3 are even better than the first season. It gets better and better as it goes on.
It's like an AMC show, right? Wasn't that what that was?
It's AMC, yeah. I don't know where it's available now.
Okay.
And then best of all time, drama.
These are good choices because normally there's like a group of 7 or 8, The Wire, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Mad Men. I like that you're giving a couple kind of off the beaten path a little.
I love Friday Night Lights, the TV show.
Nice. Okay.
Drama, right?
That's a great show.
The rare show that rebooted halfway through and didn't get worse. Which is crazy. Now you're like, well, yeah, it was Michael B. Jordan, but he wasn't Michael B. Jordan at the time. So.
Yeah. I thought at the end it got a little weird.
A little bit. But
yes. But I thought that's a really good one. All right, comedies. This is actually how I really judge people as comedies. What do you think is funny?
Eastbound and Down.
Oh, great.
My favorite comedy.
I don't think I would have picked that for you, but I like it.
Really?
Yes.
Danny McBride is like my true north. Like I feel like if I could hang out with any person or have the career of any person, I just think the way that dude, he like lives in North Carolina and just makes shit with his friends, and it's really funny and good. And
I love it. Steve Zahn is a friend of ours. He lives in Kentucky, and he did Righteous Gemstones with him, and he talked about how they like the scenes in that abandoned church. He couldn't find the church he wanted. He said, Danny McBride, and he was driving down the street in South Carolina, and they saw this church on the side of the road, and it was abandoned, and he wanted to film in there. So they just started. And then a guy showed up and said, "This is my church. If you want to film here, you got to pay me." And Danny McBride said, "Okay, how much?" And he said, $5,000, $3,000, whatever. Danny pays it. The next day, a different guy shows up. The original person he paid didn't own the church. He had just come and demanded payment. And he said that Danny McBride was like, well, that's what I get. All right, what are your other 2?
Okay, Deep Cut, the show I always recommend to people. It's called Patriot. It's on Amazon.
Heard of it.
It was only 2 seasons.
Okay.
It's about a depressed spy.
And it's funny?
I think it's a masterpiece.
Okay.
Very few people have ever seen this show, but it's like one of those shows where if you meet someone who's seen it, you have like an instant bond.
Wow. Okay. And it's funny. Like it's a comedy.
It's a comedy.
Okay.
It's very like Coen Brothers-y kind of vibes, if you like Coen Brothers. And then I feel like I should pick like I love Veep so much.
I was gonna say Veep.
If I'm going pound for pound, joke for joke, the funniest show, I think Veep is one of the funniest shows.
I am so glad you said that because my list always starts with Veep. I think Veep and BoJack Horseman are my two favorite, but Veep, no show in history has had better joke to joke to joke to joke.
You can take any clip from Veep from any season, any episode, and I'll just lose it if I watch it in its entirety online.
It's also one of the few shows that over the course of it adds characters, and it still works when they add characters,
100%. All of the minor characters, like her daughter, like they're all so funny. Veep is.
Oh, I love that. All right. I gotta ask you about this because I am a political person. I know you're not necessarily, but you end up getting dragged into things, and it annoys me as someone that likes you, because for a certain segment of people that want to politicize everything ESPN does, they've had these targets over the years, and some of their targets are no longer there, right? Jamel Hill, Bomani Jones, Pablo Torre. You still are, and it still happens. And it makes me mad. Even though we're not close friends, I get mad from afar at them doing it. How do you handle that? Because Jamel Hill, Bomani Jones especially would punch back. Pablo doesn't as much, although he does a little. You don't. So how do you deal with that? Does it bother you?
It bothers me not to be attacked, but to be misrepresented.
Yeah.
Do you feel this way too?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if I say something and I'm standing on it. I don't care if somebody's mad, whether it's a football take or something about the real world. If I'm quoted accurately and people are angry about it, Godspeed. I only get upset when I see my words taken out of context or twisted or things. Then so just to be kind of, I guess, transparent, that's when I get upset about it. But I've also learned you can't fight like misrepresentation on the internet. It's like impossible. It's like punching ghosts. So
but sometimes I feel like they attack you not based on anything you said. You're just it's what really annoys me. And is there's a segment of especially men, white conservative men, who just see you as an example of a hire that shouldn't be talking about football. And you know much more about football than I do. Without question. And I could have your job and they wouldn't say a word to me, but they'll say it to you. And that annoys me.
Good at it.
Huh? No, I wouldn't be good. Because you're talking about, bunch packages and all this stuff. Like you really know it. That's got to annoy you because you are overly qualified with knowledge.
Does
that annoy you?
Philosophy, I think now more than ever, I just try to remember to touch grass. I honestly should get that tattooed on my arm so I don't forget it, because whenever I feel that the voices you're describing are overwhelming or whatever, a couple of things. One, they almost never actually consume my work.
Yes.
It's so, which is, by the way, I think true of a lot. It's not just me. You got to really remember that, right? Like most of the people who are attacking you, especially on an identity basis, don't actually listen to you talk about the sport or engage with it in a meaningful way. And then when I actually do get to touch grass and go to the combine, or I'm out in the field, or I'm at games, nobody in football is like that.
They're not?
They're all cool as
That's
hell.
Great.
Oh my God. Coaches, executives, they just want to talk ball. They're not. And I think it's just such an important reminder that, you got this loud, disgruntled minority who are just kind of looking for something to be mad at, and somebody who represents something. But the more attention you give them, I think, one, it feeds it a little bit, but it also is just a waste of time, frankly, because they're not representative at all of the people who matter.
You don't respond a lot, but when you do, you have some clapbacks that I love. And I consume very little media that's not, I don't know if you're like this. I have a hard time consuming people that do what I do. I just don't, I guess maybe just because I do it. So I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, the point being.
Okay.
But I've always listened to Simmons and Russillo. And Russillo made that comment about something when they hired, and he made you as the joke. I don't remember what it was. It was something about inside the NBA, and he was like Mina Kimes or something. And I was again, I don't know why I get so defensive. I was really upset at him. I was like, Russillo, you're better than that, dude. Plus, aren't you all friends? And then you responded with something like, you just did it for taxes, or whatever his famous line was during the protest.
That's a deep cut for the Russillo heads.
That was a deep cut. And
I like him. I like that podcast too.
Were you surprised he said that?
Are literally my favorite podcast. I
agree.
I've said this before. When he does those travel podcasts, I think they're art.
They are when it goes to New Zealand or whatever. Yeah,
legitimately the most strangest, most interesting documents.
I agree totally.
I love them.
But were you bummed by that? Because I know you like him and you all are friendly, and he used you as the punchline of the joke in a way that I thought was kind of crappy. You did have an awesome comeback, though.
My feeling is just if somebody makes a joke about me, I'm going to make a joke back about them. So that's right. I get that a lot, though, that sort of joke setup and punchline. Like anytime something at ESPN happens, like something gets fired or we buy something or whatever, I'll the kind of portion of the internet you're talking about does what he did, which is they say, ooh, now Red Zone's going to be hosted by Mina Kimes, or they're going to force, the joke is that ESPN is forcing non-white women mostly onto programming. And that's the joke that I see it all the time, constantly.
And I expect it from idiots, but I just didn't expect it from him. And I think that was what bothered me. I got a lot
of texts about that. Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't expect
I think a lot of people, because if you've listened to him I listened to him going back to Van Pelt. I was just I wasn't mad. I was just disappointed that was the joke.
I haven't heard from him on it, but like I said, I just feel like, okay, I'm going to make a joke back.
All right. Last thing, Dan Orloski went my very first day at ESPN radio. I'd waited like my whole life to get that opportunity. Back then, they would fly me to ESPN every Sunday morning to do a radio show, which is kind of—
I remember this.
It's kind of bizarre that they did that back then, but they would. And Dan would drive up from Philadelphia. And so it would be me, Dan, and Myron Metcalf. And the first day I walked in—
Love him.
The first day I walked in, I had never been on ESPN. Dan had never been on radio, really. And Myron had never done the NFL. So we were all kind of terrified. I knew nothing about the NFL. I didn't even watch the NFL when they hired me to do this, as crazy as this sounds. So we come in, and I'm like, I have notes on every NFL team because I didn't know anything.
Good for you.
And Dan is sitting in a dark booth in the ESPN radio section by himself. I'm not going to say he was shaking, but he was kind of shaking. He was terrified. And he and I had never met each other. So I knock on the door and I walk in, and he is clearly nervous. I am terrified. And I look at him and I'm like, hey man, we meet. And then I go, are you nervous? And he was like, yes. Because it was his first thing for ESPN too. He'd never done anything for ESPN. And I said, well, I am too. And he goes, why are you nervous? And I said, I really don't know anything about football. And he goes, well, I don't really know anything about radio. And I said, all right, I got the radio. You got the football. Let's go. And we did. And we had a blast. We got better as the year went on. He, of course, you knew within a few weeks he was on a rocket ship. You could just tell. You could just see like this was what it was going to be. But I will, no matter how big he gets, when he re-signed his contract, I texted him, I'll remember walking into that little closet studio.
I love that.
And seeing him nervous and me being the same way and being like, so I'm always so proud of him. And I know he's as nice a guy as he seems.
I mean, he is literally like a brother to me at this point. And I think what people don't know about our show is Dan was the only person I was really friends with before I started doing NFL Live. When they rebooted it in 2020 with myself, Laura, Marcus, and Ryan, and Dan, it was kind of an experiment. They were like, let's just throw these people together. And Laura and Marcus, had done a lot of SEC stuff together, of course. Dan and I were just football nerd friends. I had him, I don't even know how we met, but like we just kind of connected on some real nerd shit. And And then we were just kind of texting. I had him on podcast. He was not. He was doing some of the morning shows and stuff. I was doing my thing around the horn and whatnot. But we had not worked together. But like that kind of nerd friendship foundation of just loving geeking out about football and getting so psyched about the dorkiest shit. That's really what the show was built on in a lot of ways, from my perspective, that relationship. And so, yeah, I'm so grateful to work with him. He challenges me so much too, like challenges all of us, I think, because he's constantly pushing himself to be better, and he works so hard, as you know.
Yes, he did.
So
he
I
would
love
sit
that story.
there.
That's
You know,
really
they have
sweet.
that room where everybody watches the games, right, in Bristol, and we
Yeah.
would leave our show and go sit in that room. And here was one of the things that was great. It was me and him and Myron. Myron and I knew no one in that room. Like, it's all the NFL
Yeah,
people.
it's all football people. It's like
He knew everybody. He could easily have left us to sit with all of his football friends because there was all the Randy Mosses.
It's like a high school cafeteria.
Yeah,
It really,
and
it literally is in the cafeteria.
and he would say hi to all of them, but he would sit with me and Myron. And he would make like Myron and I not feel like we were completely by ourselves in this. And I just love the guy, and I
I love that story. Thank you for telling me about it. It's so cute to think back and think about how far he's come.
I'm proud of him. And I'm proud of you even. And I wish you the best. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this, Mina.
This was fun. I'd love to do it again during the season now that you're an NFL guy.
Well, barely.
Give me a call.
During the off season, I'm going to make you do a book one with me since it's clear you're a reader.
Gilded Age Pod, win. You and me.
Dude, I would do it. Thanks. Appreciate it.